Well, you can hear that, can't you?
Right, you're alive now.
Are we live now?
Yeah, we're live now.
Right, nice.
Hello there. Hello, I'm not doing it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hello there, folks. Today we've got the amazing Yammy B. Yammy, welcome to the show.
Lovely to hear your voice again, Brian, after 29 years. I think it was 91 from a prison phone. Or
That's right, yeah.
Mobile way back in the day. Everything
Yeah.
all right? Pleasure. It's a pleasure for you. It's a pleasure.
We've gone off here. He's knocked it off again.
Hold on, you're alive,
He
right?
keeps, I know, just, yeah.
It'll come back on.
Yeah. Just that again.
There you go. There you go.
With the injury, I'm afraid.
Right, you've just gone back on.
Right, we're back on now, Yammy. With just a bit of glitch there. Right, we're back on. Just explain when you made the football talk to each other. I was in Durham and you were speaking to me.
Right, yeah. Way back in the day, Brian, but I'm not going to go into the six-man, but it was alleged that you sent someone with a parcel to throw over the wall for me way back in the day.
Yeah.
I won't go into it. All I know is we were at a party on
Nothing to do with me.
Brian, so we had that one. And that was the last I ever heard from you until recent times, Brian. It's a pleasure to have me on, especially with lovely Emma as well, who also has guys. One of my angels as well, so that's what brought it all together.
Yeah, because I'd just like to say, Yammy, how come you come on our show? Because you've got loads and loads of others. I'll be a bit jealous today because they've asked you to go on and you haven't got on their shows.
I'll be honest, Brian, I don't really. In later times since I've been out, not being bad or anything, I get on with almost everybody. I get on. I'm on good terms, apart from maybe two or three who I don't talk to. I got a couple of them down the Northeast who I talk to, say hello to, and you might know them, but I don't talk to them about you, and they don't, don't do all that. But Brian, you know what it is? It's Emma, where Emma had the tie to with the angel, one of my angels, that brought me the remembrance of you. But with the others, I don't really want to go on because I'm on my own journey to get my podcast ready today, which you will be the first, which God, I believe, has brought us together, because I've chopped and changed all week. I have 5 other interviewees to do. And today, this week, by God's grace and miracle, really, Emma and everything with the other lady, it's all come together for me without me even asking you or you asking me, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's not that, Brian. I like a lot of people, but no, I don't. I'm not back shows. You're right.
I'm just going to say, can you tell the folks what the comparisons we've got?
Fucking hell. Where's the list?
Spooky, isn't it? Spooky.
Get the A4 piece of paper. You've got at least injuries alone. We've got 6 in common. Lifestyle changes, the past, alliances, behaviors, attitudes. We've got about 21 things in common. Yeah. Which is remarkable as well. The injuries, Brian, I we've spoke about a little bit about. I spoke with a little bit about it earlier on in the week, and obviously, I can't believe that I've met somebody that had to cry in hospital when the shit was being pulled out of their backside. Yeah, so you with that spinal condition, we're both lucky to have.
That was the worst pain I ever had in my life. That pain. So can we just go back to where you're from, Yammy? So let the folks know. I know where you're from, and a lot of people do. Just so the people watching all over the world today, where you're from and what happened, what's happened, where you're from, and that.
Well, I was born in Bow Road, East London. I'm not in London much no more. I pop in now and again. Right. But I was born in Bow Road, New Year's Day, January the 1st, 1966, Brian. So I'm 55 years old, but a Londoner. Not a happy household at first. Trouble with mum and dad, siblings. Ended up in care, and basically was in care from about 9-10 years old. Right. Dad had a stroke. Sorry, Brian. Dad had a stroke. Mum took an overdose after a holiday at Barry Island, Butlins, big man. And we ended up in care, because me and my sisters, because there was no one to look after us.
What was the first time you were in trouble with the police then, Yammy?
Oh, right. The first time would have been, sadly, other interviews when I first came out. Might have heard about the abuse, horrendous abuse. I know we also have common ground on that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a little while, Brian. But yeah, stabbed one of the abusers in a children's home. Ended up in Stamford House secure unit, and been in institutions every year for 40 odd years. This January coming, Brian, this will be the first calendar year out I've had since I was 10.
That's amazing, mate. When you're going to stay out, I'm going to make sure you stay out.
Thanks,
what was I going to say? So roughly from 10-year-old onwards, you've been in and out of jail nearly all your life. So what was the biggest sentence you got, Yammy?
13 years, served 12 out of it. Many like that, Brian, but the only snag with mine is short periods out. One-man crime waves, armed robberies, silly robberies, pretend firearms, burglaries, high-class premises. In that way, the rich, if you like, sadly, I was a preyer on people with nice jewelry and stuff like that in that life, Brian. But short periods out, long periods in custody, a bad man in jail, lost a lot of time, and ended up doing most of my sentences to the day they finished.
And most of your friends really will be ex-criminals and criminals from jails. Yeah. So how did you get the injuries, Yammy? Just let people know about the injuries. Can you speak about it?
I hope they're not all going to laugh at me, but having dodged all the bullets, lived off the glorified in that name, Yammy. Like, I suppose, not much different from you being the tax man out here, Brian, in that life that you led in the past, big man. And I was the Yammy who ate a lot of people's drugs in there. So, Brian, I fell off the top bunk bed because it was an unsafe bed. With no railings on it, and 12 o'clock at night on the top bunk, went to go toilet. The bed was a bit wobbly, and sadly I went head first, scarred there, broke my neck, cervical 3, 4 and 5 months on my hospital bed from Wandsworth prison, in hospital with my ex-missus coming up there every day, being told that you're never going to walk or use your hands again.
Yeah, same type of thing with me. They said you might not walk again. You might never use your hands. It could be 2 to 3 years before you walk. It's the worst feeling in the world, especially when you're used to being a fighter and you're used to using your hands to protect yourself. So then you can't protect yourself like you could. But when they're telling you can't walk, God said you can walk. It's God that made me walk.
And when Emma mentioned the other day, again, another thing in common, Brian, unbelievably. I'm not going to set the cat amongst the pigeons, big man, Brian. But, we having spoken to you at length this morning and a little bit yesterday and whatnot, Brian, I like the way that you've accepted, like me, Brian, the outcomes and the things. It's going to be really frustrating. You're at the early stages, big man, as well, which I'll go into a little bit when your interview comes up in a bit, big man. But, having been sporting athletes, a powerlifting gold medalist and a badged up, football man, cricket, basketball, having been circuits, all my life, super fit, super strong for my little size, because I'm half the size of you, big man. I couldn't fight like you, Brian. But I was a strong wrestler. I could wrap up a few bigger, heavier men, like that. But now, I have to face the music, don't I, Brian? You can't do that, bro. I'm not really interested in fighting and that no more anyway.
Yeah. I think when you've done it for years and years and years, it gets a bit monotonous, boring as well. I think what it is I think God's within this position. I think if you were going to be killed, you could have been killed 100 times, 1,000 times over. I could have been killed 1,000 times. But God's kept us for a purpose. I think so people like Yammy B and Brian Cockerill are here today to help the children of today, not to go down that stony path and help the children of tomorrow. Do you think that's right?
I've with the work, obviously, my lady friend, having spoken to Emma at length as well for a couple of days with the work that young Emma's doing for the charities of homelessness and people at risk and mental health and that kind of stuff. We've already gathered that we're going to be working on a lot of projects together with my contacts with charities, the youth at risk and that kind of stuff. This is where we're at now, because we're not going to be here forever, Brian.
No.
and you accept that as well. To be in later life to make amends more, go to my grave, keep to my oath to the Father in heaven. I ain't committed a crime. I ain't thought of committing a crime since I've been out. We've had the demons come and gone with drugs, ongoing issues there, getting better and better and better, but far from one. Brian, I'm pleased to be giving back, and I'll turn the other cheek now when I'm getting slagged off, and so people threaten me. It doesn't really, I'll still get angry, but more frustration with my injuries and the condition, and coming to reality, Brian, that I ain't going to be able to do the things that I once did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, you've hit the nail on the head. You can't do what you used to do, but you can do different things where you can help people now, where we couldn't do that before. Maybe if we still had our ability, we would be still taxing and still doing stupid things. So maybe God's like used to, you get injuries, to get together, help each other, and I feel like that's what's happened here. Plus, the people that we can help is astronomical. We've saved nearly 50. I think it's 50 people now. Suicide on our YouTube channel, which is doing really good.
I saw 42 of them, Brian. Excellent work. There's many there professing to be working for charities, but they never bring the statistics or facts to show if they've Brian. Which me and you can bring to the table and quite clearly show that we are on a straight path, which is where we remain. I'm not going to get involved with anyone that's involved in skullduggery and who is not true to their word, which is why I agreed to come on with you and the great Emma. We like the path that I'm on, and I've been approached by others who are quite clearly not delivering what they say they're going to deliver, and this is one of the factors why I've come on your show today, Brian. Probably the major factor.
Yeah, and it's really sad when you get these injuries. When I've trained on the ice since I was 13-year-old. Football team captain of the basketball team, table tennis team. All these things you've done, you can't do. My hands not 100%, and you just can't do them. And you sit in bed and you go, "You're fucking useless, you're this, you're that," and you call yourself because you can't do it. And you're sitting there, and she's saying to me, "Wife saying, Emma's going, you talking?" I'm talking myself, and she thinks I'm shouting and swearing at her, but I'm swearing at myself, and I'm going to God, when am I going to get better? And it's frustrating. Yeah.
Imagine, Brian. I'm glad you just highlighted that, big man, because you know that we respect you highly, especially my lot down in London and Manchester, even down on Stoke-in-Trent. They all respect you very, very deeply, Brian. You might have had phone calls from some of them this week. But, Brian, I'm glad you said that, because all I have said to anyone that's living with me is, please, when I'm swearing, I'm not talking to you, but don't answer me when I'm talking, and just let me fight with myself.
Yeah.
I have threatened to jump out of windows a lot. I just moved into a new place yesterday, Brian. You'll be pleased to know. But I've been threatening to jump out the window loads of times, Brian.
Yeah.
It got to the stage where, in the end, at first they believed I was going to do it, and then when I eventually said, "All right, I'm going to do it," now they say, "Oh, go on and do it," and they know I'm not going to. They know I'm not, because we've got too much to give back with in your stories. Which will be going. Again, me and Emma was talking, the lady, we will be going around doing joint enterprises, me and you, as a double act.
Yes.
Those probably next year sometimes, Brian, we'll be passing on those experiences. So more is coming out of this than I ever imagined.
But I think a lot of that, what you're saying, you're going to, like me, you feel suicidal. Like I told the doctor, he said, that's just normal. It's just a normal thought. You think, what's the point? My hands aren't working right. My legs aren't working right. I can't walk. But if I first got out my hands, I couldn't move my hands. Like flippers, I couldn't walk, my neck couldn't move. She had to feed me, take me to the toilet. It was terrible. I had 4 care workers a day coming around, but I'm getting there slowly. But I'm not 100%. But the thing is, I am getting there.
But Brian, the good thing is, I'll make you and Emma laugh in a minute, because they were filming me the pit, because they were saying, "Look, we saw him do a somersault. We saw him do 100 burpees. They brought the experts in. The experts turned around and said, all it means is that he can be a gold medalist at the Paralympics if he stops. He's still going to have to lie down, because the minute you stop stretching and doing things, you're back on your back."
Yeah.
Brian,
yeah.
So it's down to you. But with your one, Brian, I will go into it in you're at the early stages of it, big man, but you've done remarkably well, Brian. What I saw from one of those fitness videos from Emma, middle of this week, I was quite shocked. you could be doing such things at this early stage. So that shows that it's not over yet with you.
No.
Spirit and the way that you've been, and you will know from my story the motivation and desire to never give in. But it is sad, Brian. It's sad. Don't get me wrong. I accept it. The punishment, you know, we're godly, me and you now, so we're not. I accept it, but it doesn't mean that I don't cry some nights, Brian.
Yeah, I've been jailed myself, as you know. So you have some. When you're going in there, it's not a nice place to be. It's when you go in, it's like a scary place to go when you first go in. These people say, that's easy jail. They're just talking shit, and it's just crap. To have your freedom and be able to go to the fridge when you want and go for the drink somewhere, eat the food you want, is a big difference, isn't it?
And Brian, you know, thinking earlier as well, big man, you know, the way that I am now, I take the ownership. We take the ownership of ourselves and just of just think of others, because prison, this is what it's done. That life. Remember, you spent a lot of time out, but you've had loads of wars and everything. I've got people that told me about you before I even met you, after I met you, Brian. So I'm pretty aware of some of the things you've been through. So that was another factor, because a lot of your story, you remember, I was all hearing from different parts of the country whilst I was there, even. We'll get round to that other bit anyway. But Brian, prison, because we want to stop them from ending up the way that me and you are now.
Yeah, it's not. We're not glorifying what we've done, because we're not good.
Injuries, training, lifestyle, drugs, partying, all over the gaff, crime, doing bad things. All the combination of all those things have left me and you as we are today. And we want to deter people and let them see firsthand the damage that life has done.
And the truth is, we could have been killed. I mean, that many times, been close to death that many times, and told you're not going to make it, he's not going to come through, and things like that. But for the grace of God, we are here today, and we just keep going on. We just don't want it's like the knife campaign we were trying to do now, the anti-knife campaign, the kids that are on the streets now. They think it's a big deal. Years ago, you'd have Dr. Martin boots, or you'd have a leather jacket, and you'd look cool. Now they have to carry a knife to look cool. Nearly every kid's carrying a knife.
I mean, Brian, we come from a school, we come from a school where, Nick, women, we respect kids, we respect other people's space. For whatever me and you have done, take it out on us. Yeah. We're happy with that. You know what I mean, Brian? But, these days, they're quick. They think being a man, but when they get in there, Brian, they soon realise that they've lost. For 3 months of glory out here, where your name's ringing in those estates, and he rates you because you done him, or he knocked out them, and you're going to be as hard as Brian Cockerill was way back in the day, because this is not what we want. No. We don't want them to be taxing and robbing and knocking people out and doing all that, Brian, because in the end, you didn't have to do a lot of porridge. You had a lot of squeezes, because there's a lot of allegations about you as well, which I won't really go into until I took your mind, Brian. But you missed the boat. But actually being out here, doing it the way you did it out here, and the way that I did it in there, I wouldn't have been able to survive out here the way that you did it out here, Brian. Live the charmed life, big man. And at the end of the day, you're facing the music, Brian, but you want to deter anyone from thinking that there's any winners at the end of all this. Because I've got a lot of guilt and shame to lie down at night and think about, and I take away that guilt and shame now by making amends, calling myself a mug, letting people see firsthand, the stupidity of it, the great this, the great that, the great Brian Cockerill, the great Yammy B. We know that it was all a load of shit, Brian. We know that we know you was a hard man. That is without dispute, but it still doesn't mean that because you was a hard man, you want other people to live the life that you led, to be a hard man, drugs, robberies, doing all that kind of stuff, involved on the doors, all that kind of lifestyle. You know where it is going to be ending, Brian, and in later life you realize you could have done with all that nonsense. Really, because you see what happens in later life. Everybody's calling each other names. No one can rest in peace. Everybody's looking over their shoulder. No one sleeps at night. And when you sleep at night, you're always concerned, probably not for ourselves, Brian, concerned that harm may come to others around us, because we know that there's a lot of cowards out there these days that can't come right up to your face and say anything. They can go underneath and say what they want. I don't get hurt by it. You don't get hurt by it, because we know that we've been through the Tower Inferno already. It's hardly going to matter, because no one's saying who they are anyway, because everybody's more in a hurry to get their bit out, to make it look like that your bit, it all leads to you saying your bit and somebody else saying it, but it doesn't go nowhere, big man.
Yeah. All this he said, she said, she said rubbish. It's just nonsense. Why waste your life and they come on, they'll go, what's the name? It'll be Tommy 657 or Johnny 538. They don't come on, say it's Brian Cockerill, 29 Talbot Grove, Ingleby, Barwick. That's where I live. See, it doesn't bother me what they say to me, but when they're threatening to burn my house down with my dog, kill my dog, rape my wife, kill my wife, and things like that, then it affects you, because it's the women, which things you would never go.
Who sent a message? They were sending threatening Emma.
Yeah, threatening Emma. Yeah,
I don't watch a lot. I haven't really watched no one stuff.
Yeah, terrible things. I mean, I was in hospital there. I had my operation, and I had to be in for another 6 weeks. I signed myself out 6 weeks early from the hospital because Emma was on her own here and they was threatening to come to the house. And then I was on a live podcast. Someone phoned up and said, "I'm going to cut your throat," and everyone could hear him talking. There was thousands of people watching the podcast, and come on, threatening to cut me throat. I said, "Well, I'm here now. Can we do it?" He said, "I'm coming at 3 o'clock to cut your throat." But nobody advertise what they're going to do. They're going to do it. No one's going to advertise violence. So it's all games in it.
I'm really sorry to hear this about lovely Emma. I've got a soft spot there. I don't get what, because if you're going to come up on social media to make threats, right? You're not going to say you are, or if you even say you are, you're not going to do it because you've told everyone you're going to do it anyway. Because you're not going to be able to do the bird in there after letting everyone know. You're only going to lie in your bed thinking, "Oh my God, why did I bother leaving that bit behind? Why did I bother saying why?" So easy to get nicked now. They only need phone calls. They only need messages. They only need a camera here. They only need something that somebody else says on another platform. Somebody else messaging someone, Brian. It all gathers evidence. So you all end up in custody, and then you're going to be sitting in there crying your eyes out, thinking that beef from 30, 40 years ago, you're going to be carrying around with you, when the time in life now is to go, all right, forget all that. Bygones be bygones. Let's all live happily ever after. None of us was nothing in that life. Whatever way you want to butter it up or whatever, you done him, I done him, I stabbed him, they cut you, they whatever. In the long run, Brian, I couldn't give a monkeys. In fact, I apologise to all the people that might have been offended by the things that I'd done, Brian. The first thing in life when you reach this stage of maturity and being a straight goer, because if you're really a straight goer and you're up there telling people that you're here to help everybody, it's hardly a great thing to do, to go up there and then get angry and start, spitting violence and that, because it takes away the power of what you're trying to do. We know human emotion, it can come out, but you must at certain ages show some restraint. Brian, I don't get it all.
I think the ones who do it are not real guys, like stand-up guys like me. When you get people like John Elite, he was in the Mafia, he was in the Gambini family. I did a podcast with John, I'm good friends with him, and he's a proper man. You just have to talk to him like you talk to me, look in their eyes. You know the proper people, they're capable of what they can, what they've done, and they're capable, but they don't involve women and children. You never ever involve women and children. I've got houses to tax people, and there've been 20 grand in the house. I've realised I've got kids in the house. I've just walked away. You just don't do it. So you've got to draw the line somewhere. You just can't. You can't. The ones who call people are usually off their heads on drugs on a Friday and Saturday night. Never had a fight in their life. Probably living with a mum and dad. Never done anything, and then they try to be a gangster on a Friday and Saturday night.
But I'm sad, to be honest, Brian. I know Emma's thick-skinned, and the way I see it, Brian, I'm not involved in all the past things for all of us and all that. Me and you have, but regarding Em. You think about it, Em. I mean, Emma can only do what she can do because she has to protect you, Brian. She can't be vilified for coming up and standing up for you and sticking by you, Brian. You can't be saying out on her. What would they expect from their missus to stand up for them and do all that? Everyone knows that your family are going to feel hurt if you're going to be vilified and things, because they know you better and more. Contrary to being a bad man, I accept that I was. You might accept that you was, Brian. But at the same time, you're accepting now forgiveness and saying, you know what, I don't want to be like that no more. Everybody should have a chance to be like that. You shouldn't be, be held accountable your whole life. The only one that has the final judgment or anything, Brian, is him, the Father, and of course,
Well, when I got
Oh.
when I got christened, God forgive me. So I got the sins washed off me. When I got baptized as Christian, what you call Christians here.
Brian.
I've done that, and since then I've been good. But I didn't do anything since 19. Last time I was in jail was 1990. It was just for a street fight with someone. And before all the jail I've done, I've only got driving offences on my record.
So then, when I had, I won't say what prison it was, Brian. So when I had the phone call, that was after the alleged allegations, when I believe from the other fella that you got questioned about a couple of murders, right, Brian? I don't know whether this is right or wrong. I shouldn't be saying. We're going to change kind of on my interview anyway, so it doesn't really matter, Brian.
Yeah.
So I remember that. So when that thing happened, when I had that one phone call with you, that must have been then about 93, 94. You would have had to have just got out or thing, and I was away as usual.
Yeah.
The middleman with the Northeast, and then we got something going without saying much more. That's how long ago that was. So then that was the last time.
Yeah, it was 1996 when I got out.
Yeah, you ain't been involved in crime for. That's a good.
Yeah.
Good run, Brian. You've done remarkably well, my boy. And the books as well. I was having a look at the Resurrection this morning. Very, very.
Yeah, we did that. We also did the Taxman and Teesside. We did I did the Taxman 1, which is a massive book. It's got, so we did the Taxman 2. We do now. We're doing the training book. We did a training book with Charlie Bronson. It sold more books than any 125,000 books that sold with Charlie Bronson. We did the other training book, what I'm doing now. Oh, we've done documentaries. I've done 3 national documentaries. I did 5, but 3's been shown all over the world. The McIntyre one, the Ronald Moore one, Dispatches was with Channel 5. So, and massive documentaries. It's not just these little ones I do in the streets with the camcorders, proper ones, because it takes 3 months to video you. You need 22 hours for 1 hour of a proper one, like for the BBC. And they do the 3 months of video on you, and then they do 3 months of editing, cutting stuff in it. So it takes 6 months to do a proper documentary.
Wow. I've got a team who are going to do mine, obviously, and go around the children's homes, the institutions where I was brought up, Brian. Obviously, everybody's been patiently waiting for me. By the way, the big man, John from Manchester, says to say hello to you as well.
Yeah,
but he's obviously doing his straight stuff now, left that life, done a sentence, the big and he sends his regards to you as well, Brian. But the documentaries and that side, I'm going to be doing a book very soon as well. But I've had to go over all the hurdles this year, Brian. Mum died last year, relationship breakups, working out who's snaking you, who's this. Then you've got to be careful now. You're on social media. I don't mix with negative people no more, Brian. I don't go to old haunts no more. I'm too scared. Now, this is why I know that I've changed considerably since 20 months ago, because all these things that I had to go through, the demons, drugs, falling down, being picked up, helped by, I've got a great set of followers, Brian. I've got to be honest. I've got a bag of angels that I don't think sometimes I deserve it, but I'll take it after that life, Brian. And all I could do is stick to my word and deliver what I said I was going to deliver. And that's why they believe in me. And that's why they give me the inspiration and motivation to keep going. Because bloody hell, Brian, it gets hard. It gets hard. Like you said, I've been suicidal with these injuries. Some days I can handstands. Other days I can't move. Other days I can open a bag of crisps. Other days I can't, Brian. It's just a strange thing that I can't work it out, that they warned me that mentally I would have more problems than the pain and actually movement and that kind of stuff.
Well, the pain, it really gets you down because it's there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm sat here now throwing my right hand, my neck's killing me on the left hand side where I've had the titanium rods in, and my lower back's really sore, my right hip all day long, 7 days a week, and it gets to you. You're in the bed and you're tapping the bed because the pain's in your hand, so you're trying to get the blood in it. Everyone's going, what's that noise? And you keep there awake, so you're making their depressed. So you just it spirals in it where your mind goes. It's hard to stay strong.
How about, so for the first time in life, right? Which is another reason why, there's many factors why, obviously, Angel Emma with the link with, obviously that was because then we remembered. Then you said, Yammy, you don't remember the phone? And then I said, of course, the phone call with the MDNA way back in the day, Brian. So when I remember that, but because this talk with spinal conditions and the severity of yours and mine, I thought I was the only one that understood. And now that you're saying all this, I got people in the room here. A couple of the big people are here saying hello to you as well, Brian.
Yeah.
Brixton and, from other places. But Brian, that it is mentally demoralizing, Brian.
Yes.
It's demoralizing. But when I'm looking around and I'm screaming and I'm going, oh, for effing, the aggression borders. I've been so scared by the aggression that it can bring out, Brian, that I have to go and pray sometimes.
It feels like you're going back to the old Yammy.
It's terrible, Brian, and nothing else. You could call me all the names you want, nods, grass. Call me all the names you make up over the years, where there's no facts or nothing to all of it. Brian, don't bother me. Threaten me, don't bother me.
Yeah.
Getting angry over that in them split-second moments, Brian. I get frightened. I'm being really serious, big man, Emma, as well, darling. I get really worried about myself that on them seconds when people say, Yammy, Samson, now cool down. I mean, Brian, I'm literally, if the wrong person or if it was in another set of circumstances, I get worried about that aggression, Brian, which is why God helps us during such times as well, I'm afraid.
But I think that the aggression that you've got helps you get through it as well. Because if you didn't have that aggression and tenacity and grit, you wouldn't get through it. People don't understand how bad it is. Not when somebody says to you, you're not going to be able to walk for 2 or 3 years, and you think, what? But you're not going to be able to move your hands for 2 or 3 years. And you're used to being a fighter, you're used to lifting weights for all these years, since 13-year-old, 40-odd years of training, and it's taken away from you. You just devastated, it's demoralising. You're laid in bed thinking, what am I going to do? And
yours, another factor with yours mirroring mine, big man, is that when they was telling me in the hospital, if we didn't have that muscle mass in all the right places, holding up the weak bits, Brian, you'd be in serious trouble. All them years of training, in fact, could well have saved us.
Yes, I think so.
I think so too, and plus the spirit, Brian, because I saw something the other day, right, big man, and drugs. Now, you also mirror the facts that I believe, I might be wrong, man. I'm not going to say what you are and what you ain't, but I'll tell you this, how it works. When you said something the other day, you drive yourself into the ground, tear yourself apart. It shows me, because I do a lot of human behavior stuff and psychology stuff, Brian, and it shows me that what I think of myself and what you think of yourself. So you drive yourself into the ground, but you're so used to getting up from life and death situations and doing some of it to yourself in the past that it's like water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
Brian, that's where the motivation and desire, that's why we are up, Brian. I'm telling you, is why we are up. We don't notice. When I was lying there dead, it never entered my mind that I wasn't going to get back up. I was sitting there reading the Bible with all the screws around me, hoisting me out of bed like that, Brian, put me in a chair. They had to turn the pages for me. I was crying at Psalm 29 or 31 or something like that. And they looked at me, they said, oh, Yammy, Uncle Yammy, you crying because you know that you'll never be able to feed yourself, you'll never be able to walk again. I said, no. I said, I'm crying because God just told me that I'm getting back up.
Yeah.
And they all looked like they were going to faint.
Yeah, well, I had the same type of thing in hospital when they said I couldn't walk. God was saying, you can walk. And he was going, no, you can't. The doctor saying, you can't walk. And they said, you won't be able to walk for a long time. So they put me in the bed. They left me a couple of hours. I woke up and I went, you can walk. And God was going, you can walk. I was going, get up. But it took me about an hour to get out of the bed. This is only a few hours after the operation. I got to the side. I stood up and walked. It took me 20 minutes to make a couple of steps. And they're coming, what are you doing? Get in the bed. You're going to hurt yourself. You told me I couldn't walk, and I've walked. So my head then, I went back to bed and I slept like a baby because I knew then I could walk. Even though it was only pathetic steps, but I still walked.
Imagine when they used to leave the room, Brian, because obviously nurses had to wash me and wipe my bum and all that.
Yeah, same thing.
So I used to be in the chair, hoisted up in the chair, the screws go outside the door, and then the two favourite nurses, I'll say, listen, please, let me just stand. And if no, Samson, just in case we don't want to be, I said, please. And if I'll do one step, and then because I couldn't use my hands, I'd fall on the bed. And they go, Samson. But every day I got 1, 2, fell. I remember one night, Brian, you won't be happy. They were really disrespecting me in the hospital, and I was trying to crawl on my chin to the phone, and they wouldn't. And they looked at me and went, Do you know, 5 weeks later, when I got up, big man, to walk, I could only do, at first you can only walk for like 10 meters, then 20. I wouldn't even think I was pushing off the walls. But then, like the clown I am, Brian, I started shadow boxing while the screws were there and throwing it out so that they went back and told the old oh no, he's up now. It didn't do me no favors because I was in handcuffs again. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what it leads you, because that's the resilience, I believe, the motivation and the gift from God. I believe you're blessed as well.
Yeah.
Might not agree, but I believe you're blessed as well, Brian, because of the life you've led, and me as well. If it was meant to be over, all right, a little bit of handicaps, big man, we accept that. Life with that kind of life, they need to understand it doesn't come without punishment.
No.
But the fighting spirit, not everyone will have it, which is why I prefer them to not really look at the way that I did it and the way that you did it to get back up, and that motivation and resilience, but to use that motivation and desire the way that we've done it with the injuries, coming back from the dead countless times, so that they do it and show that these things can be done, that you can actually use that spirit and motivation and desire for good things to get what you want. Because I'm telling you, I knew when you can get out of that, from your one and my one, and getting up from that, that means you must be able to make amends and do good for people and help people out with little lesser risk and lesser effort than what you just tried there with the injuries to get out of that bed for thing. That showed me that anything was possible. Big man, but there's a will, there's a way. You might have one hand ain't working, but you can still use the other one. Saying that in that bad life, Brian, that if it was in that bad life now, just because you couldn't use your right hand, it still didn't mean that you can't shoot with your left hand, does it?
And he takes
all it means, have it right. All it means is you can't stand up and go, right, I'll throw the first left and right. What it actually means is, if you was in that life, all it would mean to me, all right, I won't row with you now. What it means, not sending out any bad messages or anything, but the reality of the thinking, if people are thinking that because of the injuries, it means that you're finished, and it doesn't actually mean that, Brian. What it actually means is you'd have to take precautions into the way that you used to do it to now do it with whatever, throw a hand grenade at them or whatever. See how they defend against that. Do that, Brian. We don't promote that kind of stuff. But it's silly if people think that just because you're down, that's the time to come and get you now. Come on. Anyway, in a cat, you're not interested. I'm not interested. I don't care. Come and kill me any days. As long as they don't trouble no one near me, I don't care. You know what I mean? I'll take it, Brian.
I think it's like these war heroes that get their legs blown off, and we should be ashamed of ourselves because they've had 2 legs blown off, an arm blown off, an eye gone.
Yeah.
Climb Mount Everest.
For the right,
Mount Everest with plastic legs.
Yeah.
So they've had us a lot worse. A lot of these people in Afghanistan have been blown up in soldiers, and you're feeling sorry for yourself. You just have to look at what the guys have gone through, and they're running marathons.
I've got a man I'm going to interview very shortly. He's been on Lee Mayo's show, Brian. Gary Taz from Scotland, who suffered really horrendous injuries, a real soldier. he's come out with PTSD and all that kind of stuff, and represented his country and done it in the right way, different risk in another way, but for the Queen or whatever, different to doing it in a bad way of life, just for the desires of money, drugs, women, and lifestyle, and what it looks like with a chain and the car and the, you know, I'm somebody, because it's all absolute nonsense. I respect those war heroes. I do, to be honest. I do.
Yeah. Well, I've had Gary on. I've had Gary on that done a podcast with Gary.
Yeah.
He's from there. Yeah, he's from Dundee.
Yeah.
I was in the Army Cadets, and I went to Dundee. And that's he remembers the Army base where I trained as a cadet when I was.
I didn't know you knew him.
Yeah, I knew Gary very. Taz, they call him. His nickname Taz. We on the phone for hours sometimes. Tells me funny stories. He's really nice guy. Yeah, he is good.
Nice. I might be going to stay with him for a couple of days.
Yeah, he was coming down here to stay with us as well. So
Brian, love it.
Let them come to your house and you'll see what. And I'll be coming to their house. No, he said, he's an absolute hero. Yeah.
I've got to agree, and he was up. Funny enough, he was up YouTube when I put that video up the other day. Big man, he come underneath. He says, "Yes, Yammy." I didn't realise you knew him.
Yeah, he's one of the good guys. But we've got all people like that. But loads of people come forward. I'll go and sort him out for you. I said, "No, I'm a Christian now. That life's gone. I've got no animosity. I've got no hatred. I've got no evilness." Years ago was stony. Now it's fleshy. The light shining from me, from Jesus, it's helped me help people on the streets. I don't want to go back to jail and go to jail. And all them people I'm going to let down, my family, the people who help with mental health, the people who we saving from with the church, the people we help on the streets, the addicts we've got in the rehabs.
Hey, Brian, in exchange then, I have never ever been out longer than 5 months. Never done a calendar year out. All my are crime waves, crime sprees. One man terminated with a big chest, not even eating, jumping over count, ruining people's lives. 20 months. I don't know whether the injury knocked some sense into me, because since I've been out, demons aside, when I want to punish myself, even more than what I've been punished already for some reason, Brian, I have not thought about crime one single second. I haven't thought. I think to myself, Samson, how did you do that? Yeah. I don't know. But I know that the Father and Son, because when there's negativity, bad vibes, people preying on really things to keep your energy sick, to really bring that, I get ill. So I've had to start legging it from people. Because I don't want to be around it, because I feel like they're asking me to do something that I don't want to do.
Yes.
Big man. So the only way, I'm not saying getting more than preparing for my death, big man, but I am appreciative and grateful, even though a lot of people say I've been hard done by for those 40 odd years. I don't really look at it like that, because apart from the beginning, I accept I knew wrong from right, and I believed in a lifestyle and a game of that crime, running and thing. I believed in it more than the Father in heaven and the Son and normal human beings' welfare. So we've got to accept it.
But the Holy Spirit's in you now. That's what's happened. You've had an encounter with God, and that encounter with God's kept with you, and that's what's got you back off your feet. You're doing amazing things, and that's what God's done. So He's come in your heart now. That's what's happening. He's shown you the way. Us put together. It's not a coincidence. It's definitely God's
change. Because the phone call in the 90s, and then Emma being attached to one of those, and then it went from, look at that. And all week I've been screaming because I can't work out the Zoom, Brian. and then Emma turns up out of the blue, knocks on the front door, comes down and says, no, Samson, link together. And then she says, no, there's this way of doing it. And that threw me a lifeline, because I would have got nothing done and for another couple of weeks.
Well, to be very honest, this last couple of weeks I've been really down. Talking to you would give me a boost the last 3 or 4 days. I've done the same with you today, giving you that boost, because we're talking about things where you're a bit embarrassed to talk to other people, but it's
positive with you. I got that. I know you know him as well, the football man, Steve. Like, when I first come out, Steve that I don't know whether it's a Geordie thing with me and the North. I don't even know, Brian. I really can't put my finger on it. But
Yeah.
Steve was another one out of all the ones. We had that the buff bath, you know, because things in common, not as much as obviously me and you, but I'm really privileged, Brian, to have got to see you both on the outside. You and Emma, especially after hearing all the stories. From now, I know what's fact and fiction. How do you feel as well? One of the questions I'm going to ask you in a little bit as well, big man, is, you know, when they're saying that you committed this and committed that, especially around lives lost, and you know for definite that it wasn't you, because a couple of them you was in jail, but you know, get pulled with things, and they're thinking, was it? Oh yeah, it was. I saw him there. He knew him, and then people, the way they spread stuff,
it's unbelievable. Well, they've had me in for 7 murders before last time I went to jail. 7 different murders, but they came twice since I've been ill and tried to have me for the murder squad. Historic crimes from 25 years ago came to my house and said, "Did you do such and such and such and such?" I went, "What are you going on about?" And
well, I heard about too.
This was 2 weeks ago they come, and they came 9 months ago to my house. Historic crimes, never even heard of them. Just stuff from 25 years ago.
So when I was in the Cat A's, you know, I didn't let you know, obviously, because for the show purposes. Now, Brian, I was in the Cat A's from, well, I've been doing A's and B's most of my life. Yeah. But I remember being in the cell with a geezer called Billy Charlton from Middlesbrough. Yeah. Right? Good geezer. I partnered up with him, sadly, for a bit of crime inside there. Real soldier, could have a right row as well, Brian. Yeah. And he used to talk about you. And I remember another 2 people, I can't name them, obviously Northeast, talking about 2 murders. And I was thinking, I believed what they were saying. Yeah. Until I read something else years later, and I thought, well, it couldn't have been Brian. But he used to say to me, there was a geezer, sadly, rest in peace, an old soldier. I think I heard you was his uncle or his partner, whatever, Lee Duffy. Yeah. Now, they used to say in jail, Brian, Yammy, you and Lee will be a good team. Wait till you see. This is what Billy, and they used to all say that to me. Yeah. And again, Brian, Southwark, can't remember, but I'm sure he was from either Darlington or Middlesbrough. But anyway, he used to talk about Lee Duffy. So the other day, yesterday or the day before, when I was looking, I watched half of the documentary. I haven't really watched a lot of your stuff, big man. Yeah. I will do later, of course, because we're going to be doing a lot of work together in the future with Em as well. But I see that you and him used to have little things outside. Yeah. So I'm hearing things now that I'd never heard of before.
Yeah, we teamed up. We had a bit of a fight at Red Card and we teamed up. We took over the whole team side and we were just like 2 Terminators walking about. But we never had to hit anyone. We just, to knock on the door, and they used to give us the money and the drugs. So we were just the best 2 fighters in the area teamed up together. It was a massive force. It was just, you know, no one could handle him. No one could handle me. So together it was probably the best tag team it's ever been.
Brian, I heard he died, rest in peace, sadly. He died pretty young, but over the years in jail, his name used to ring so much. Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, without having ever met him, but I think I met somebody as well that knew him as well as you did, Brian. But he was a real handful. Yeah. Real handful on the out. So, but like I say, with that life, big man, it only takes one stab, and it's all you need.
Especially now with the young ones,
you need somebody frightened, somebody that's had enough of had their things taken off them. Yeah, somebody, just because me and you through the kitchen sinking to self-destruct with ounces of coke and, you know, half getting paranoid, staring at the door with the gun, with the handle moving and all that caper that comes with the game. I believe it takes just one moment. I know there's 2 men that were like me, like you, like Lee, that only took, and the persons that have been convicted of the murder, people look and think, oh, him, and think people have enough of it. Big man. It only takes. You don't have to be brave. You don't have to be brave to kill someone. You could be scared and kill someone.
Yeah.
It only takes a minute. So all those wannabe robbers and want to step on people's toes in the criminal game, which, you know, sadly I did and probably you did, Brian. You know, there's got to be, not everybody gets out of it with their lives.
No. I know the thing is, someone will say, oh, Emmy's only 5'2", but it only takes a finger to pull a trigger.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Brian. And I've had them ones where a man, here, take it, and then, what? Pretend to give you it, and somebody dies because he's planning to get you when you think you've won. So he's thinking, oh, I'll pretend that I'm vulnerable.
Yeah.
But I'll get you. You see what I mean? And you'll be so confident, especially the way that I used to patrol and go in people's cells and go and have rows and that kind of stuff, Brian. You can come seriously unstuck.
Yeah. Yeah. You get people who've got money and just know the right person, or you got people who are just people pretend to be your friends.
Yeah,
they're the ones who'll get you sorted out. It's never the ones who say they're going to do it, never do it. When I got nearly killed on a few occasions, I never heard ever about it. So you just get, you don't hear when you get done in. You don't hear what's going to happen because if you hear,
when you had to run, when you had to, your face had to go red, where you knew that you had to scrape out. I've had things where I've barely just got away, but I got the goods. But you know, I didn't win. I just put smart, conniving, deceitful move to get it. Take a couple of cuts away. You know, the whole yard rushed me once in the old days in Swell. So I know I'm in Preston, and then I got stabbed up when they come for somebody else. I got a couple where, Brian, there. And I had the hot fat thrown over me, and it missed, and it's somebody else with the IL. You know, all the stories from way back in the day. Yeah. I count myself lucky to be here to tell the tale, and nothing but positivity. Nothing but genuine concern with the state of affairs on our streets, Brian. But hey, pause.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, Brian.
Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah. Just itchy nose, that's all though. Yeah, I think he's gone off. Yeah, I've been on the submit before I went on, that's why I'm a bit, my face is a bit itchy.
Right, hold on everybody, we're just going to get Yammy back. 2 minutes. You're still live. Hold on everybody, we're just going to get Yammy back. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You're still live.
That's a bit dodgy again.
I'll go phone him and see. I'll just add him to it. You just keep talking to people.
Yeah, guys, it's amazing.
Thanks for all the lovely comments.
Thanks for all the comments. I haven't seen them yet, but Emma's got them on them now. They've come up. Yeah, it's great to speak to Yammy. Someone's gone through it. And just all them people out there, just, you know, Christmas is coming. Don't feel, if you're feeling suicidal, contact us, Samaritans. Go to your doctor, talk to a family member, come on our channel. Our channel's free for everyone. Subscribe, it's free. And if you subscribe, it tells you when we go live. We go on a Monday, we have the interview to talk about different things. We talk about television programs, we'll talk about the community, we talk about any knife campaign, and we just talk about things that can help the community. We're here to help people. We don't hurt people. We just want to help people in our life now. My twilight years are the best years I've got now. And yeah, I'm just saying to people, So sorry about the
everyone's saying how truthful.
Yeah, you've got to tell the truth, and if you tell the truth, it sets you free. And plus, if you tell the truth, you're helping the children of today and tomorrow, because the kids look up to us as heroes, which they shouldn't really do, because what we did in the past was wrong, like Yammy said. But that's the environment you were in them, and you thought that was the right thing. you thought it was the right thing to do then because you thought.
You just re-add that link. No, re-add the link.
Yeah, so.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
It's coming back on, Yammy. Yeah, just saying that when you're in that environment with people, things you get drugged into people's arguments and fights. You're out with a gang of people, they'll have a fight, and you're the best fighter. You jump in, and you get yourself locked up through other people's mistakes, and you go to jail, and they're all out, and they don't even come to see you, and you're in jail. So you've got to remember that as well. And like when you sell drugs, you start taking drugs, you start being paranoid on them, and you start blowing all your money in. It's not a good thing to do. The best thing to do is educate yourself, be positive, get yourself in the gym, do a bit of sport, and keep yourself motivated.
There he is.
He is the amazing Yammy back on.
Hiya.
Oh, thank God. Brian, you know what, big man? Some people I put quite clearly on the app, no phone calls tonight. Yeah. I've got a 10-hour interview with me and the big man from the northeast.
Yeah.
And they're still ringing.
Yeah, well, what you better probably doing at this time, do it on the phone. What they haven't got your number on, you know what I mean? Maybe Michelle's or something.
Oh, there's an echo. There's a little bit of an echo, Angel M.
Mine's okay this side.
Well, you've got an echo. So am I still on the phone 2 seconds?
Yeah, she's got the echo on.
Yes.
Right.
Now, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Is that better, Brian?
Yeah, that's good. I can hear you clear. I've just been going on talking while you were off there to keep the show going.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks.
Just explain to people that what we did in the past, sometimes you get dragged into a fight, you go out with a gang of people for a drink, 2 or 3 people, they'll cause a fight, then you end up finishing the fight, and you end up going to jail for other people's mistakes. You jumping in, helping people, and because you're the best, I'll sort this out, and you jump forward, and you jump forward, and all the other people behind you get let off, and they go, well, who was there? Well, there was Brian Cockerill. Who else? Well, Brian Cockerill. Everyone else gets off, but they always remember Brian Cockerill. Yeah.
I worked out. I was always leave it to me in there. I'll take the. I worked out that out of say 10 enemies over a lifetime,
yeah,
right, 9 of them are other people's problems.
Yeah.
Not
100%.
Me. I wasn't the one that killed blah, blah, blah. I wasn't out or blah, but I'm involved because I sided with them in there. So the hatred comes for me through other people.
Yeah.
But not because I didn't do nothing to them, Brian. The ones in jail, fair game, I say, I don't glamorize that I was a robber and we know about the story already. Brian, otherwise we wouldn't be up here today to have anything to say about that fake life.
Well, well, 2 of the murders they pulled me in for, I was actually in jail. I was actually doing jail sentence.
Oh, yeah. I know what one you're talking about.
Yeah, I was in jail. Absolutely ludicrous to come out with people. I said I was in jail. And then the other one was I just got out 2 days, and the murder was 6 weeks before. I got out of jail 2 days ago. So they went and checked and realised I just got out of jail. So a lot of the time, it's because you're the big name in the area, the biggest name. I was the biggest name in the area. I had everything all boxed off, all the rave clubs. We had the best rave clubs in the Northeast here. I opened them. We had the Eclipse, we had the Coliseum, we had the Havana Club, we had the Manhattans when I run all the ecstasy, allegedly. And I had everything boxed off all over the Northeast. I had boxed off. We were making massive amounts of money, but we're giving most of it away to people who had nothing. Family members and people who've got nothing, and the church and things like that. So people think it's great when you make all that money and you big 30 grand chain, a 30 grand watch, and a 5 cars in the front. Listen, if you've got 5 cars, you can only drive 1. If you've got 5-bedroom house, you can only live in 1 bedroom. If you've got 6 tellies, you can only watch 1 telly. So it's immaterial stuff. It's crap. It doesn't mean nothing. Being content in your life, being happy what you've got, and with your wife. That's a person who lives in a bedsit with a wife and they're happy with the kids and they're putting food on the table and they're working. They're going to work every day. That's a proper man. Going to work for his kids to put food on the table. They're proper people.
You got it. For me, I don't like, obviously I would say you was a much harder man than me. I put you in the bracket of, a couple of my ones in London, a couple of those in Manchester, a couple of those in Liverpool, a couple of those in Birmingham, because over the years, the hard men with the fighting thing, I mean, I'd say I was average, Brian, but I'm not going to be able to mix it with the real hard men in a brawl like that. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But I put you lot because in my mind, I've done so much time, Brian, that I remember I bumped into everybody that was that was really, sadly, that was ever had to have been met. You know what I mean? I would have had, if you came to jail, I would have had to have seen you somewhere during your childhood, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I was hanging around with all the kids on the last sentence before the injuries. I was pretending to be a hitman for them. You know, all the nonsense with that as well. I look at myself more as a bit of a comedian, Brian. I think I was more like the Artful Dodger. I look at mine like when Tony went on James English and he was saying, no, Yammy, Yammy, Yammy. I don't mean the fighting, but I used to say, Tony, what you on about, Tony? You can't. He goes, no, Yammy, but nothing could. When you was there, you was the centre. Everybody had to go through you, whether they got on with him or what. You was the go-between between everybody. But the problem was, the more people that I loved, Brian, the more headache it is when they all start arguing with each other. You know what I mean? Because I liked a lot of people. I say I was, rather than pulling strokes and being a scumbag and, you know, robbing a few over the years and that, Brian, I look at it more that I probably got let off a lot because I was probably liked. And people gave me what I wanted. Want us to be honest sometimes. You see what I mean? Because I'm not really naturally a hater of people, which is why I realized and why I tell people today on your show as well, Brian, that you're wasting your time in that life because nobody's going to be there when it really matters. In the end, they're all going to want peace and quiet, like me, like you, like them, like all the rest of them. But there's always that stuff going on in people's head about the past, old things. Let it lie. Let it lie because you can't achieve nothing. Nothing is going to be solved by the bad mouthing and doing all the stuff over past because I didn't like him. He did that to him. And, oh, they tried that. He said that to him. Because everybody, it seems, has egos to that life. When really, when you've changed, you are accepting and letting go of the ego.
What you've got to do when you're a Christian, what we've learned to do is to get your pride. He said this about you, but the old Brian Cockerill knocked him out. And battered him, and a bit him, but the real one now, just think, forget it. It's nothing. It's only a name. It's only calling you. It doesn't hurt you. Sticks and stones. And as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. And that's what I keep saying to myself, and I get through it. And he who hasn't sinned, cast the first stone. And we all make mistakes in life. And when you're young, you make a lot more mistakes. When I'm older now, I wouldn't be the taxman what I was.
You know what? You know what makes me laugh? It becomes more that some men's sins by the moral code of the game, the fact like their sins on paper are worse. So they get worried whether it was hitting a woman, sadly, you know, even other things, worse things, but they have to live with it because they know those are the kind of things that won't get you accepted into fake life. You will be looked at as not all that. But if you've left the game and you're on a different path, you wouldn't have to do it. There's some serious things happening around at the moment with name calling and things and the stuff that's being said. I don't want no part of it, big man. I really can't waste my energy on slagging people off and belittling people in public. I just can't do it. Brian, and I don't see what it solves because every one of us have to live with some of the things that we didn't like what we did. That if we could turn the clock back, I would go, I wish I wouldn't have done that one. I wish that I wouldn't have said, I wish that I would, you know, you've done it or you ain't, or there's allegations or there's suspicion or there is a witness or there is, and then everybody gets tangled up. But for me to say, because you did that, that makes me better than you or whatever in that life doesn't mean a thing, Brian, to me. I've got to be perfectly honest, big man. I only get upset, you know, when I hear things about Emma and when I hear things about No, because that's the kind of man that I am, and I just don't see with the old school ways and the rules, and some of the men, you know, you come from the old school rules.
Yeah.
So for you to have been somebody in that fake life, you would have understood the rules loud and clear. And if you never kept to them, you're digging bigger holes for it. Doesn't add up. It doesn't add up because people's mums, parents, things. Come on, man. It's got to draw the line because very, very soon there's going to be serious damage and it's going to be on the front thing of YouTube. And then everyone's going to go, oh my God, I knew that was going to happen. I knew it would come to. I knew, and look, they're going to be sitting there. One's going to be in a grave. One's going to be doing a life sentence. 4 of them are going to be in court. Others are going to be tangled up in it. There'll be a big court case. It'll be on YouTube again. But the only difference is you will be the ones being found guilty in a court of law or being shamed in front of the world, not on YouTube, but by God for your actions in a Crown Court, which you have to pay and forfeit your liberty, which makes your situation even worse than it is.
The thing is, some of these young kids these days, some of these people are crazy. So these people that are calling people these days, they think they're getting good and they're getting away with it. When these young lads find out where they live and who they are, so they're going to be gone. You can see some of these podcasts who are calling people saying things, and you can see him. He's going to get done in it. You can see it happening to them, and they can see it themselves, but they won't shut their mouths. And then people go, well, he did everybody got.
Well, let me tell you something, big man. I have been there when the gangs, one man fires a gun, 5 people get convicted. They don't talk to him no more. But yet, that old rule, big man, Brian, where you say, all right, let me go and get Yammy. Yammy will stab him or kill him. But yet, when you call me to come and do it as the loose cannon, it all goes wrong. He dies, and then we all end up. You're going to say, "Oh, that bloody Yammy, man! Why did I bring?" But you knew when you called me that I was the nutter, that I was the lunatic, that I would do it for you to make, because I wanted a sense of belonging, because I wanted you all to praise me, that because it was more important what you thought of me than what God thought of me. You know, all those things in later life. And having seen those gangs, Brian, I saw it in my own eyes. They are crying every day because they wish for 6 months worth of glory from this manor, from that estate, from all the things. You're not playing a part in it no more. And in fact, all the things that you lived for and stood for out here in that life, you are going to find out that in there, those same people out there, they're not going to remember you. They won't. Your girlfriend, your kids, your mum, you won't have that luxury of wrapping up at Christmas and having a decent, peaceful life and getting your self-esteem from making amends, from giving back, to trying to save what looks like it's impossible with the way things are running out here now. But we won't give up, Brian. The best thing to do is never give up with solutions, help, and bringing new stuff to the table, stuff that hasn't been brought by the government before, not gang leaders, not getting people to go into, much more psychological development from young to tune them in from the vital age of when they get to secondary school, when all the peer pressure starts, when the one parent families and mums on drugs and dad wasn't there, and you come home and you're scraping and you can't eat good food, so you have to join and you get your praises, but the pecking order is horrendous. So if they got ideas that they were somebody out here, when you go to the Cat A's in there, you will find out that you're a very small fish in a big pond, because you have to stand on your own in there. All right, there's gang culture in there now, but you still get moved around. You still gonna find you're gonna have to do it on your own, and many find it difficult without gangs and with a bit of motivation and peer pressure to fight those battles that continue from the out. Inside there, you can't even rest in there because the damage you've done outside with people and loss of life, families, friends, loved ones will always, not all of them, but they will try and make your life difficult in there. to the best that they can, because when people lose people, Brian, it's very, very hard for people to forgive and let, it's very, very difficult. One has to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is, when you go to jail, you're on your own. Especially when they done me, they kept moving me to different jails, Liverpool, Leeds, up to the Durham, different jails. So you get associated with that load of people in there. So you're all right. Then you've got to go to another jail, and you've got to establish yourself in the next jail because you're the top fighter. You've got to fight someone in Liverpool jail, and you've got to fight someone in the Leeds jail because you have to, because they have a go at you because of your reputation. That's another thing. Once you start getting that reputation, people want to come fight you from different areas. You've got to fight them. You can't say no because you've got to fight them. You've got no choice. Once you get in that world of fighting, fist fighting, you've got to fight people from all over the place. And if you don't do it, you've got to just move out the area and just get a job as a window cleaner or something, because you won't live in that area because everyone will talk to you.
It is sad because me and you have got the mental strength and resilience to give back and get out of the situations, life and death, struggles, self-destructiveness, where we have to go through. Like I said before, Brian, a lot of kids haven't got that.
Yeah.
They haven't got it embedded in them because they're used to being in gangs. You're not alone doing your stuff. You're not doing a one-man crime. You're not backing yourself and learning how to look after yourself. So I won't be going around schools and all the venues that Emma's got planned and my charities. When all my podcasts get up and running today for next year, big man, these are the things. I'm not going to glamorize my survival skills to audiences, because then I will be telling them how to duck and dive in there and make it look like I will be diluting it to make you know the majority lie on their beds at night wishing they were outside, no power over the kids, the girlfriend and whatnot. You lose everything that you thought you would have, because the realization, what used to happen to me, I used to go on my crime waves, do it quickly, go back to jail. But then I used to wonder, how could I not know, after doing so much time, each time of coming out and going back, Brian, and then feeling, oh shit, I'm back in jail. How could I not have been frightened? And then be still sad when you get in there. So in the end, I was going, oh, you asked for it, you got it. So you go and mix it in there and do it the way that you're going to do it. Because in there now, prisons are not as secure as they once was. All right, it was, you get more beatings back in the day. It was more army-fied, run different, no cameras to bring you down the blocks and things, Brian. But now, the young screws and officers, they're coming in and turning a blind eye and just picking up the pieces.
Yeah.
I watched a gang battle in recent times in there, and they all stood back, short of staff, 25 of them didn't. But when everybody was finished, dead on the floor, lying, right, you're next, pick you up. Do they care?
No, there's no winners, is there, in jail? There's no winners. The only ones who win is the screws, because they sit back, they go home every night, they're sat in there. But these another thing, you get these big tough men who can fight. There was two from Hartlepool, and they both got 5 years each, and these were tough blokes. And they cried their eyes out when they got 5 years in the dock, and they both cried in jail all the way through the jail. They were nicknamed Tiny Tigers, the both of them. Big tough men from Hartlepool. They got 5 years apiece. They were going around bullying young kids, hitting kids, and doing all sorts. They both got 5 years. They cried in the dock, and then he told me they both cried in jail like two little girls. And
I was in the Old Bailey, Brian. I saw two faces when they got, it don't matter when they got lifed off, when they come down into the cells, they sat there and tears were running down their eyes. Yeah. I didn't book it as weakness. I booked it as a sense of loss now.
Yeah.
You realize now, no love, no relation, no comfort. No, you're going to have to live in that jungle. We're talking about long-term, Brian. The gangs with murders and all. You've got to live. And they're sitting there, and I'm sitting there with my 12 or 13 or my 10 or my 8 or my 6. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, go on then, lay it out. Because they're not crying because, some ain't crying because they're scared or thing, or in fact, it can turn you the other way. You could cry and then go, right, I'm going in there, because you've lost everything, and it's like a red rag to a ball for some. But for some, with the way that you described just there, big man, I've seen that, and I almost laughed my head off, because the things they were crying about, their girl, you know, things and that, no sex, no this, no that.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do without that, I'm afraid. And when you're going to go and commit serious actions, you need to look beforehand and know
Consequences. Yeah.
the consequences. And people like me and you in later life will be able to show them exactly that, big man.
All these things what you don't hear, and you see them telly, they're in the telly, they go to jail, they're all tough and hard, but they don't show you them crying, they don't show you them when the mum's died or the dad's died, and I've seen kids in there broken and I've helped them. I always was good to people in jail. I made sure there was no bullying. Every jail I was in, I made sure nobody got bullied on the wing. If anybody got took stuff off, I'd get it back for them. I never let lads get bullied or anything. Every jail I went in, I looked after everyone.
Yeah.
But I got bullied as a kid, you see, so we'll touch on that when you do the one with me. But I think we'll leave it there, Yammy, because we've
yeah. Wait, Brian, can I just do a special mention?
Yes, of course you can. You look me the bits.
Hello. my uncle, he loves you.
Yeah.
Combo Shot Health, my uncle Big John from Manchester, and coming really soon, a tasty world champion on the rise. Mason Carter, PJ Maguire, the best cutsman in the business, Fielding, and his dad, what was his first? A.L. Carter, his father anyway. Look out for him. They're buying the supplements and they are building up. He's won 3 or 4 belts already, and he is family, Brian. So I'm going on a meeting. They're all taking me out for dinner at Christmas.
Yeah.
And special love as always. And Tony and Lisa, obviously, Quincy, all the rest of them down in Brixton, all my lot down in West London as well, Brian. And I'll see you again shortly.
We're going to add your link to the your channel underneath this video, Yammy.
Sorry,
we're going to add the link to your channel underneath this video, so anybody who wants to subscribe to Yammy's channel.
I don't ask. I don't really. Well, you know how I do it, Angel? You do it. Everybody does it a bit different. When they want to come, they'll come.
Yeah.
Mine's going to be up and running now, Brian. Thanks again for a leg up from Sister Emma. Now, I'm getting ready now to deliver the goods because I've got a plan. I've got a plan of action for all subjects for help. Brilliant. This is what we're going to try and do. The debating, they're coming on the channel. You sit there, they sit there. We'll have mums it. We'll have it all done in the way that we're going to do it.
Yes.
We'll thrash things out to try and make the communities a better place, like you and Emma are trying to do yourselves.
That's fantastic. Right, okay, brother. We'll speak to you soon.
Been an absolute pleasure,
for watching, and to the amazing Yammy. God bless you. And
I love you, Brian, and I'll see you again very shortly. Absolute pleasure. Big up the whole of the North East. What's his name up there with the thing? I like him, the geezer with the thing as well. I have a little letter with him. He's all right. And Steve Rafe. Who else do I know up there? That'll be all the North East up there. I say hello to. Good stuff. And remember to have the big man's back. I'll see you all soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.